from the audience here. I liked how you characterized, and I thought that you set the table well with the age of metadata, because a lot of the commentary centered on the value of not just metadata, but active metadata and the need to present it to business users in an engaging format. I thought during the panel discussion with Nitin and David, there were some interesting trends in terms of understanding how can you get a complete view of all your data and maintain that view so that you can get sort of a live interactive capability looking at your data sets. David, I think...
Hold on. Before you go too much further, let's talk about some of these things.
Yeah.
The age of metadata is that's a testament to digging a little bit deeper, because I already had this presentation finished yesterday, and this morning I was kind of lying around in bed and just thinking about the presentation and how can I really drill home what's going on here? What are the major changes that are happening in our industry, not just with data catalogs, but what changes are data catalogs facilitating? And it struck me from the work that some of our research analysts have done, like Dave Wells and Sean Hewitt and Jay Piccionary, that metadata really is the big trend here. And catalogs are kind of just the mechanism that we're using to manage that metadata. So I think this descriptor of age of metadata, which only came to me early this morning, is a good one. So I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you pulled that out of that. It's funny with Nitin, I didn't understand what he meant by complete view of data until talked on a bit. And I think he started talking about reconciliation and validation and making sure the business people take a look at what's been in the catalog to ensure that it's actually correct. So I think the point there was that you need to curate what you're cataloging, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a continuous process, and it involves people and process. I think it echoes some sentiments probably from Nitin and David that there's no magic silver bullet. We all know that. We've been in technology long enough, but it's always worth remembering and reminding ourselves to spend equal time on people and process so that you can curate.
That was Nitin, right? Initially?
I believe it was, yeah. Yep.
And David reinforced that. Who said take someone out to lunch? I think that was in the vendor panel, that it's really important.
Yeah, I think that was Lewis.
Yeah, take people. It's you can't replace that water cooler. So if you're going to have a catalog that works for business people, you really have to go understand how they're using it by talking to them. Yeah.
So Wayne, on the note of metadata, we've actually got a great comment here from Robert Seiner. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the need for metadata governance? Wayne, you made the point that when you have a catalog, you if you're going to get serious about metadata, you introduce a whole set of data management processes, metadata governance being one of them. And we are working on a report with Sean Hewitt about exactly that topic. But if you have any quick thoughts as part of the takeaways here, that'd be great.
Yeah, in our consulting work, data governance is just always a huge component. There's so many things that need to be governed. Usually data quality is the big pain point that companies are feeling, which is why they want to start doing data governance. But once you start doing data governance, you realize, I've got to manage the metadata so I can manage the data quality and the data access control and the data privacy. So yeah, this is kind of a meta layer, right? Where you need a program to manage a program to manage a program. Bob, you probably would appreciate that because he's deep in that, I know. But yes, metadata management and a catalog, I believe, is the tool to facilitate that kind of work. But maybe Bob can chime in here on that one if he's got other thoughts and opinions. I don't know. Can we actually get him on the line here? Is that possible? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess we'll defer to Julie on that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, another big theme throughout the discussion, and I'm sure came up in various breakouts as well, is the need for business engagement and the need to ensure that, as David put it, this is not a catalog managed by IT for IT. Start with a business problem statement, as Nitin was saying, and stick with solving that business problem, and then do a lot of the things that we heard on the vendor side about creating, I think, an immaculate UI was Lewis's comment,
Right.
to help guide business users so that they can really consume and increase adoption. Because there is that persistent challenge that you talked about where plans for catalogs are, if anything, getting postponed compared to a year ago, probably because of the
Yeah.
economy, which is unfortunate.
All right. Let's unpack some of those things.
Yeah, I went through it.
So can't just focus on T. Boy, that was really interesting, Kevin, because when you and I first reviewed my slides, we thought about taking that first slide out on data dictionary versus
Yeah, we did.
data catalog, and I took it out and then I put it back in. I think this morning actually, and that was the slide I think that was referred to most by people about not that you shouldn't have IT people in the catalog. They play a role, but they're a persona. And if you want the data catalog to really work, you'd have to personify it, right? You have to make sure there are views, distinct views for each persona that you're trying to support for the use cases you're deploying it for, right? I'm going to make up a word.
Personify.
Personify. That is a word.
It is a word. It's a new meaning of an old word.
I'll give myself credit for that.
Hallmark of good research. We'll coin new terms.
Yeah, the immaculate UI. Well, that's a good way of terming it. I think certainly for certain types of business users, the executive, the manager, and even the data analyst to some degree, they need a clean, easy to use graphical user interface. I think we could all use that, and that's really going to help adoption and deployment. But the GUI has to be tailored to each persona as well, so that you're not showing technical metadata, for instance, to the executive, as I mentioned in my keynote. So,
Yeah,
I like the term immaculate GUI because it's the complete opposite. You have to really think hard about what you're going to show people, or else it's not going to work, right? So, all right, this
so
catalogs are getting postponed. Yeah, did you say postponed or?
yeah, that was my word. But I was thinking of the chart you showed that had the delta between 2022 and 2023 about
Yeah,
no
yeah,
plans for catalogs, and the no plans went up, which surprised me.
yeah. It's not it wasn't a huge sample. I'll give you that. And I think we can only speculate why that is. I think I said maybe they don't have the budget for it, and they might be looking at catalogs out of their budget, which is one reason why I think having this slew of mid-market oriented vendors with much more aggressive pricing is going to be a real boon to the industry.
Yeah, and this is a classic case of you can save money now, penny wise, pound foolish. You can save money now, but I think the longer term efficiency benefits of catalog we all agree on, and I think folks on the call here would as well. So it's a solid investment.
Yeah, but I think those mid-market vendors that I mentioned, like Think DataWorks, like Prometheum, I think they saw early on that some of the challenges with the initial group of data catalog vendors is that they're too expensive, too hard to deploy, long to deploy, and a little bit more technical than they should be, at least some of them. So they've come in with these new tools that are lightweight, very affordable, really, we'll call it immaculate GUIs, right? User interface, and really fast to deploy. Now, they may not have all the bells and whistles of the established vendors, but they'll get you, 60 to 80% of the way there. And then either you bank on them continuing to innovate, or like I know some catalogs like Prometheum, you just integrate with your enterprise catalog and bring in its metadata into the other environment. So that integration is really important.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And another mega trend is AI, especially
Uh,
generative AI, and ways in which large language models can assist, guide, append, document assets in the catalog. And I thought there was some good discussion there, and agree with, I think, Brian's point. LLMs aren't architected to store factual information, which is precisely true. They're performing an exercise in statistics to spit out syllables and words based on what works well together. It looks magical and it's very helpful, but you better check it. So there is the need for the human in the loop. And that certainly fits with research I'm doing right now on the data engineering side about language models and where they help and the risks they introduce. I know
Yeah,
we're,
I'm trying to remember what someone said. They're good for metadata, but not for data, right? I think Casey said that.
yeah, I think that's good.
That's from a security perspective,
Yes,
right?
that's true for security, but overall quality risks abound, quality, intellectual property handling, bias, and so forth.
Yeah. So, what would you say was the sense of the group about what LLMs are good for? It seemed to
Um,
me that things like automatically, creating descriptions and field headings.
yeah, automatically drafting things, descriptions, and we've seen it from other vendors as well, helping with discovery, but then helping describe what's been discovered, provided the human who's an expert can vet it. But the other big trend, which we'll see a lot more of, and again, this echoes research I'm doing a layer below with data engineering and pipelines, is getting domain specific. So if you can have a language model that's responding to detailed domain specific data, ideally internal enterprise data, it's going to be more accurate and lower risk.
These are your hopefully soon to be famous small language models, right?
Yeah, it's small language models. That's the blog we have out today.
That's from Kevin, right? So these are domain specific, where you're training it on specific sets of metadata or data. I mean, GPT, I think doesn't. I mean, you got to give it text right now, right? Yeah. So you train on domain specific text and jargon, and it's going to give you a lot better results, right?
Yep.
More accurate.
If you go small and specific in a governed setting, you have
Yeah.
higher confidence in what comes out. And also you can solve harder or complex problems.